Welcome. I'm Marcie Denton, and I'm delighted to be here to share with you one of the questions that seems to be on everybody's mind. What does the body need to heal itself? And I've been putting out a answer, redox signaling molecules and light therapy. And I can tell you that a lot of us know about light therapy and have heard about it, but very few have paid any attention to redox signaling molecules. And I knew that a little bit, but my goodness, I have found a whole lot more about it, and I'm excited to share with you what I have found. Um, let's just get a little bit further along here. We're going to cover what are they? That's a question that I've been asked many times. How do they work, and will they help me? So this is what we're doing today. We're going to share a little bit about these signaling molecules and what they are and how they support health and wellness. And we'll review and go over what is and how light supports health and wellness. And we're going to talk about how the combination could be an extraordinary bit of information the body can use to heal itself. So I am a C associate now and a Care Light authorized rep and a certified light therapy instructor, and am delighted to sort of restart my life with the last few months, including light therapy, including the SIA, and just knowing that this is a perfect time to be talking about health and wellness with a solution. And we know that Hannah Kroger said, at least many of us know, that the body is the most brilliant computer that was ever designed. Given the proper information, the body heals itself. So this is at the core of my being now. And so when I heard that ASEA, this product called ASEA, used the same language, I knew I was in the right space. This is one of the ways that they present to us. They do it with their experts on, video, and now we're all doing Zoom and we're all doing online. And so we've been able to just use their capacity to teach us and learn as fast as we can. So it's not terribly complicated. And the whole point of it is that there's something way, way more exciting in the details. And that's a little bit about what we're going to go into. So we have insults to our health and wellness all the time. I have one. It's called age. I'm a little seasoned, but there's some of us more seasoned than I. And the truth is that that's an issue with health and wellness, just simply older. But people come sometimes are injured, and sometimes there are issues of dysfunction. The world calls them diseases. But what you didn't know maybe was that part of this process is a lack of signaling molecules that we used to have. We used to make tons of it. At puberty, they start going down about 10% a decade. So the more seasoned, the less you have. So I'm just telling you, I know where this is coming from. But these signaling molecules are responsible for the communication, what the cell should do, what the DNA should be doing, what we should be able to do because we have the messages to do it. And that's the key thing that is, these are signaling. They have a job, they have a role, and let's see what they do. This solution is then the combination of two technologies that activate and increase these signaling molecules. And so in the depth of knowing what the mitochondria does and what light does for the mitochondria, jeepers, it goes back to signaling molecules. So we didn't really know a lot about that, but that's the truth, that this molecule provides signaling molecules and our mitochondria make them, and they don't make enough of them, or they don't make as many as when we were younger. So there's a need for more. So there's a real nice combination happening. This is a little bit of the information from ASEA that I think is very important. And because we are a group now, I would like to try this. I'm going to give it a go. I think there's a way to bring everybody up to everybody's on, and you don't need to see the picture all the time. Let's see if I can get everybody to show up. I don't think I can. Show grid video. Nope. Oh, resize to, okay, let's see. Maybe not. It's not showing. I'm just playing right now. Hold on. Well, we're going to do it by ourselves then. So here's what we're going to do. These are the 5 areas that are part of a major genetic study, a gene study on the effects of ASEA on the body's mechanism for function. And these are areas that represent the breakdown in cellular function that occurs because of age, because of injury, because of disease. So just to kind of get a sense of it, what I'd like to do is if you guys will keep track of how many of these have affected you, or how many of these have affected the people you know. You may not be affected by one of these, but you know somebody that is. So kind of keep a running tally of how many of these have been part of your relationship with others. In other words, you know that these are a problem for some people, or maybe just for yourself. The first one, cardiovascular system. And the summary of this is that it's a huge problem for longevity. 1 in 3 deaths are cardiovascular. And now we know how important the circulatory system is for brain health. If you or somebody you know has any issue with cardiovascular issues, mark it. What about inflammatory response? This is huge because now we know that stress is a primary cause of inflammation, and inflammation is the cause of pain and discomfort and breakdown of the body's systems. So yes, we have a real issue with inflammatory issues. And I know a lot of people, I know me, I know a lot of people have issues with inflammation. And we have a deal with light that makes a difference. But let's just keep track of who we know and whether or not they make a difference. What about the immune system? The immune system, right now, we're so interested in how we're going to fight off microbes and viruses. This is really key right now. And the truth is that they found that this particular insult can be mitigated a little bit, maybe a lot, by ASEA signaling molecules and the enhancement of what I consider to be what we're using now is light. So the digestive function. I think that this may be one of the major financial burdens on a lot of families, and that is the digestive issues. And significant problems that show up not necessarily as pain, but as not able to get the nutrients into their bloodstream to do the work of repair. It's just a real serious issue, and it does mitigate a lot of issues with health and wellness. And then the last one that they have really emphasized is the hormone modulation issue. We are sometimes, unable to just function sexually because of this, but it's more than that. It's the hormones related to sleep. It's the hormones related to function. It's the hormones related to all kinds of situations. So yes, they did the study and they did emphasize that this did show up as improving efficacy by using the ASEA molecules. This video is a wonderful summary, so I won't be teaching all this detail, but this is excellent for us to look at, and here we go.
The human body is an extraordinary creation, made up of between 50 and 100 trillion cells, each one performing just the right function in just the right place at just the right time. Your cells themselves are amazing. Each one is a bustling metropolis of activity, a city that never sleeps. Every second of every day, your cells work tirelessly to keep your body healthy and strong. One of the major functions of your cells is the production of fuel. This fuel, known as ATP, is actually created by workers inside the cell called mitochondria. Mitochondria are so vital and important that a single cell can have thousands of these little workers. In fact, it is estimated that half of the dry weight of the human body is made up of mitochondria. Mitochondria do more than supply the body with the fuel it needs. They also play a key role in cell signaling and communication, coordinating the actions and activities of your cells. When you think about it, this kind of signaling is essential for health and life, since it is the foundation for things like cell development, tissue repair, and immune functions. Without the ability to communicate and coordinate the activities of cells, we would fall apart pretty quickly. The mitochondria's role in this vital communication system lies in the fact that they make special molecules, called redox signaling molecules. The mitochondria make these molecules by the trillions, every second of every day. Good thing, too, because without these redox signaling molecules, life itself would be impossible. You need these molecules to protect the health of your cells, to detect threats and damage, and to repair or replace injured cells. Unfortunately, as we get older, our ability to make redox signaling molecules diminishes. Ever notice that bumps and bruises that disappear in no time on a child seem to last forever on someone who is elderly? The cells in that older person simply aren't communicating as efficiently as they did when they were younger, and so cells and tissues take longer to repair themselves. And all because the body isn't making as many redox signaling molecules as it used to. But what if there were a way to replenish your supply of these amazing little molecules? What if there were, in essence, a redox signaling supplement? How would your life change if you had a supply of redox signaling molecules like you did when you were younger? Such a product would be incredible, but how would you go about making it? Well, a good start would be to understand how the mitochondria in your trillions of cells make these vitally important molecules. Your cells are little bags of salt water. The mitochondria and other organelles inside the cell float around in this salt water. It's not surprising, then, that when the mitochondria need building blocks for creating redox signaling molecules, they use something they have plenty of: salt water. It works out pretty great because salt water is made up of just 4 atoms: the sodium and chloride atoms in salt and the hydrogen and oxygen atoms in water. The mitochondria pull apart these saltwater molecules, then recombine the atoms in different configurations. The new combinations are, guess what? Redox signaling molecules. Things happen so fast inside the cells that these redox signaling molecules are manufactured in just fractions of seconds. And they get used quickly too. And if the cells don't need the redox signaling molecules right away, the atoms convert back into salt water, ready to be used again and again by the mitochondria. It's a very efficient system. So to make a redox signaling supplement outside of living cells, it makes sense to start with the same building blocks: salt and water. That's just what a company called ASEA does. We begin with a pure, pristine saline solution. Then, using a highly protected and patented electrochemical process, we break apart the bonds that hold the sodium, chloride, hydrogen, and oxygen atoms together. These free-floating atoms are then recombined in new configurations, and voila! Redox signaling molecules. Of course, the process sounds a lot easier than it really is. Your mitochondria make redox signaling molecules in fractions of seconds. ASEA takes 3 full days to make the same molecules. But the real triumph for ASEA came in overcoming the issue of stability. Remember that redox signaling molecules made in the cell get used right away or else turn back into salt water? That's because redox signaling molecules are very reactive. They want to get busy and start working right now. This reactive nature makes it difficult to keep these molecules around for long. They want to get used or they'll revert back into salt water. Fortunately, after countless hours of research and experimentation, the scientists at ASEA reached a breakthrough. They discovered a process for pairing these highly reactive molecules into balanced sets, stabilizing redox signaling molecules outside of living cells. This really is something extraordinary. Molecules that last just microseconds inside the cell have a shelf life of over a year in a bottle of ASEA. Amazing! So what does ASEA, the world's first redox signaling supplement, mean for you? Simply put, it's an entirely new approach to health. Every other health and wellness product, vitamins, exotic juices, everything, tries to help the body by giving it something foreign, something the body has to try to figure out how to use. Not so with ASEA. The molecules in ASEA are native to the body. See, your body already knows how to take care of itself. Your cells actually make the tools they need, and for the first time in history, you can replenish and reinforce those tools. You can, in fact, give your body more of the native molecules it needs to take care of its own health. ASEA is more than a mere supplement. It is a foundational approach to health and wellness, a fundamental shift in how we take care of ourselves. So are you wondering just what ASEA can do for you? There's one powerful way to find out. Talk to the person who shared this message with you. Get your hands on a case of ASEA and feel for yourself the effects of the world's first and only redox signaling supplement. Your life and your approach to your own health will never be the same.
My goodness, isn't that nice? I don't have to teach that in detail. It really is phenomenal to use the native products that we have in our body in a way that doesn't cause any issues with toxicity or reaction or immune response or anything like that. This 8-week study of ASEA with some individuals, I think they were in their 30s, drinking 4 ounces in the morning and 4 ounces of it in the afternoon or evening, revealed this study showed that the gene expression for these genes improved. The expression of the genes means that they can do their job. They're doing their job better at a % increase. These genes are really, those are 5, and they just have studied, or we brought out some information on EGR1. And there are 15 pathways for this gene. And you might not be able to see the details of this, but there are a number that really stand out. The insulin signaling gene, how important is that? There was an increase in that efficacy. The human thyroid stimulating hormone, increase in efficacy. Spinal cord injury repair, again, increased efficacy. What we know is that there's also issues with antioxidant issues, and that is the oxidative stress that we talk about a great deal. And this is an issue with breakdown of the body's product. And this NRF2 pathway is critical in the master gene for handling that antioxidant. And that gene controls the production of glutathione. And the study there was another study that studied this and showed that it increased by 800%. That means that you now have enhanced your immune system. You've taken care of some of the issues with the oxidative stress that you are just building up because of the issues of stress in your life, but the cells being damaged by it. In addition, they found out that it took care of oxidized LDL, so that's your cholesterol issue. And then the other is that there's damage to DNA just by living, and this oxidative issue was modified and mitigated. Very, very important research, double-blind study, presented to many, many research facilities, asking them to evaluate they have been way out there in terms of their work with the research communities, and have all received high, exciting response saying, wow, you guys have done something remarkable. There's one pathway that I'd like to talk about, and that is the pathway 14. It's the interferon pathway, and this is specific genetic information signaled by the signaling molecules to take out viruses. Not bacteria, but viruses. It's the antiviral defense system. So with the increase in efficacy, I'm pretty happy I'm drinking this stuff right now in our world. So the redox breakthrough, what if there is a simple way to address this breakdown that we get just by being, living and getting older and having injuries? And there is, and it's this ASEA, and there's a remarkable, I believe it's just incredible that they kind of accidentally stabilized these molecules. For years they worked on them, and they just would last seconds. They wouldn't last forever. And they, are efficient. They're very efficient. Everybody does their job. And then they one day forgot, and they left things running for a little bit longer than they used to, like maybe a weekend. And sure enough, that was the trick. And so that process is really a gift to us by simply being human and not following all the protocols exactly the way they set them out. How exciting is that? That we are here because there is a product that's stable in a bottle that we can drink and take into our body and supplement what our body normally produces, so that it improves the immune system, so that it maintains healthy inflammatory response, so that it helps to maintain the cardiovascular health that we so desperately need to get better. What about our gut health? Yes, it increases the efficiency of that, and then it modulates the hormonal balance. This is how the mitochondria works. It's a shorter video, it's not too long, but this really tells the story of the mitochondria. I want you to keep in mind that light therapy influences the mitochondria. It enhances its efficiency. It enhances its effectiveness. So just keep in mind that, yes, things are getting slower as we get older, and that's part of the mitochondrial issue. But let's see what this is, because this is really cool to see how the reality is happening all over our body.
Imagine the most perfect machine, capable of powering itself, repairing and protecting itself, and functioning at optimal efficiency until the very second it is no longer needed, and then leaving detailed instructions for building its own replacement. That's the way every cell in your body is designed to.
Every cell in your body is like a tiny factory. Chemical compounds from the foods you eat are transported to the cells, where they're converted into fuel, energy, and the building blocks that cells use to repair themselves and make new cells. Thousands of complex chemical reactions go on in the cell every second of every day. When all of these chemical functions are in balance, the cell operates at peak efficiency. But a cell's balance can easily be disrupted by poor dietary choices, environmental pollutants, even a stressful life. When cells are so taxed by the process of putting out fires, they enter a state called oxidative stress, and their ability to function diminishes until they simply don't function at all. Scientists have discovered that two sets of reactive molecules found naturally in cells are critical for immune function. One set fortifies the immune system and facilitates communication within and between cells. The other set of molecules performs the critical functions of protecting the cell and activating antioxidants. Without these reactive molecules, the body's antioxidants would be ineffective, so your cells could gradually be oxidized and destroyed. A cell in the state of oxidative stress is chemically unbalanced and has failed to protect itself from the ravages of oxidation. As you age, your body produces less of these two sets of reactive molecules, and ASEA is the first and only science-based product that supplements them. Even though these molecules are created and used in the body in seconds, ASEA's scientists have discovered the way to lock in these two critical sets of reactive molecules and make them shelf-stable for more than a year. Until now, there was no way to supplement the body with the reactive molecules necessary to fortify the immune system. With ASEA, you can restore the cellular balance that the immune system must have to function at its optimal level.
Imagine the most perfect machine.
Nope. We'll get there. I promise.
To the cells.
So in a little bit of a summary, the signaling molecules works at the genetic level. They help protect, rejuvenate, restore cells. And they're native. They're not natural. They're not a blueberry, which is natural. They are made by the body. They're the same as the body makes. There's no reaction to them, and they're made through the reorganization of the natural salt that we have in our bodies, and so the natural salt in the manufacturing plant. Again, at the genetic level, this information, this communication, so important to our health and wellness, is about protecting, rejuvenating, and restoring the cells. This picture on this is a little bit of a picture of the manufacturing plant where they're actually making these molecules. And the BioArgeletics is the company that is responsible for making sure that what they say they have in the bottle. And it's an ongoing process of monitoring, and it is quality control that is just wonderful. There's no way that we would get a bottle that hasn't been gone through and tested by this company. So the cell regulates gene expression. Genes give the life instructions, life-sustaining instructions. When we age, the communication between the signaling molecules that are not sufficient as much or not as much as we used to have weakens the information network, and therefore the cell in the body does not function at its best. So the ASEA product adds these signaling molecules to improve cellular communication. Now that makes a little better sense, I bet. So the question is, how do you use it? Well, you drink it and you apply it. We'll talk a little bit about the applying in just a little bit. But it does provide a supplement. It's considered a supplement. It's not a drug. It's not an antibiotic. It is what the body makes, but it's being supplemented into what we already have. These are, again, protecting, rejuvenating, and keeping the cells functioning. There is also an entire division of the medical world that has begun to use the liquid as part of their oral health regime, and they're encouraging their patients to use it for the effectiveness that it has just on the oral health. And it's a manual. It's like 80 pages, but I read some of them, and I was just incredibly impressed with how it's being implemented in the medical setting. So the bottle comes like this, and you drink a little bit, and they suggest 4 ounces in the morning, 4 at night. Sometimes we start off with 2 in the morning and 2 at night. Sometimes we have issues with the taste. We'll talk about that in the discussion. It seems to get better, or either we can become not so sensitive to the taste. It's not pristine. It doesn't taste like Perrier, okay? It's not that kind of taste, but it's not that bad. Warning, warning. It doesn't taste like regular water, but it is water, and it is water with a signaling molecules, and that's what's key. It also can be applied. The second product they came out with is called Renew, and that is a gel, and it is, as I understand it, it's about 2 times the strength of the liquid, but you apply it to your, to your face, to the carotid arteries. I put it on the top of my head, and there's a reason for that. I put it in the belly button. I put it on my feet. I put it where it hurts, or at least let people who hurt put it on where they hurt. Since I use light, I don't hurt. So I have to use other people who don't have the light to actually show that it really made a difference. And I do have a client that within 10 minutes, you know, she had just had surgery on her toes, and man, I was impressed. But seriously, this is an incredible product that was put together with other products for facial changes, for improving the skin, improving the look of the body. Actually, there's some serious pictures that we will show you during the conversation that are just remarkable. I'm impressed. I love the gel. You can use the gel when you don't have the liquid available. You can use the gel throughout the day. It's very, very, it's a key piece to their product line. They kept working at the nutrition piece too, because you can have all the signaling you want, and you have the DNA saying it's time to make skin cells, but you don't have the amino acids. Where do they come from? It comes from your nutrition. So the ability to have a synchronicity with a formulation of nutrients is very important, and that's what they came up with. So these three areas of their product line is there, and here's a few people that talk about how important it was for them. ASEA does not support testimonials. It's not, they don't want it. It's this whole issue of compliance, of claiming something, but people have just not stopped talking about the benefits that they receive. This is really one of those important things that we want to, you know, mention, that ASEA shares their research, but they let people say what they experience as independent, not of ASEA's information. Again, this is the first thing we talked about. There are two technologies that have a wonderful demonstrated effect in activating and increasing signaling and improving health itself. This is where I'm going to go into the light, because this, I keep hinting that this is synchronicity with light. And I'd like to just say that light therapy has been researched in the area of redox all the way back to their earliest research that I could find. In 2008, this article came out, and it explores the low intensity light therapy for redox mechanisms. And I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't discover that they were even doing research on light therapy until 2010, 2011. And then the exponential numbers of research has just continued to be remarkable. We are FDA cleared. Our light devices are FDA cleared for pain reduction, improved circulation. And we know that it restores and maintains health and wellness just in general because of its wonderful effects. The main clearance we have is that we can say that this device is good for and reduces pain and increases circulation. But we also have common understanding. We can put our preemies in the light, and we've been doing that for years and years. One of the things that we know is that it's a class 2 device. It's cleared, just said that, but it uses various wavelengths, and it uses red, infrared, and blue light. And we have sound frequencies embedded within the device, and that's a whole nother story, and Ginger has done a great job on explaining that in the other video that we did. So one of the things that is important is that the light carries the sound that tunes the tissue to be restored to its natural resonant frequency. Really pretty cool. But just for anyone who's not done any real thinking about or looking at light from beyond their 7th grade light science class, this spectrum really indicates that there is a range of frequencies, and we use in many of the devices red and infrared, and we also have blue in some, and some we have all. And these are the CareLight devices that are profoundly effective and wonderful to use. The issue, many people say, well, is it safe? Are these safe? I've heard that, you know, ultraviolet is, you know, that's not safe. Well, that's true, but we don't use that light wave. Ultraviolet messes with the DNA. And infrared, on the other end of the spectrum, is very safe and very effective. And one of the best things that ever happened to us is including infrared into the light devices. And so what we have here is a sign that we've got depth of penetration differences between the colors, between the wavelengths. Blue's very shallow, red's a little bit deeper, and infrared goes almost 3 inches. And here's the Carolite package here. That's the 6-port controller. So you put the pads on and you have a controller, you turn the pad on. And this is an incredible 50 to 75 million people in the US suffer from pain. Is that not amazing? And given that this is our clearance, it just means that we need and have a lot of people we need to help. We have, I'm an authorized representative, so is Ginger, and she's on the call. And if you were brought here by Ginger, then she's your person to go to. And if I brought you here, then you can come to me. But the truth is that we would love to have a whole lot of people with ASEA and with light, for sure. This is a video of how light works. And
Marcie, can I just interrupt you for a second?
Yes, you can.
We have a number of our authorized representatives on this phone, on this call. And so the thing is this is going to be out on YouTube. So we just want to encourage people, whether it's ASEA or Carolite, to just go back to the person who told you about the video. Like you've said a number of times already, you know, it doesn't have to be me.
I did. Yes, that's important.
It doesn't have to be me or you. It's just whoever invited you. And also, if you're one of the authorized reps, then, share this video. Okay.
There you go.
Marcie. You're doing great.
Okay. That is excellent. I'm a neophyte here. Okay.
No, you're doing great.
So here we go. This is the modulation. It's called photobiomodulation. And the word modulation is a key word because it literally changes the cell, because it changes how the mitochondria works. And this is a little bit of gobbledygook and a lot of science, but you need to pay close attention to how the light changes the mitochondria.
This is a normal cell, cytochrome C oxidase. The terminal enzyme in the electron transport chain is combining oxygen with NADH to make the hydrogen ions that drive ATP synthase. But something goes wrong when we get sick, injured, stressed, or just old. The mitochondria starts to make nitric oxide. The nitric oxide competes with oxygen. It binds to cytochrome C oxidase and competitively displaces the oxygen. This stops the production of ATP and increases oxidative stress. Oxidative stress leads to inflammation and cell death via the gene transcription factor NF-kappa B, known as the master switch for inflammation. Low-level laser and LED therapy breaks the bond between nitric oxide and cytochrome C oxidase, allowing oxygen to combine with NADH so that ATP can be produced and the oxidative stress to be abolished. Now the cell can get on with doing its job of regenerating tissue, fighting infection, or whatever it's programmed to do.
So the key to that was the modifying of the function of the mitochondria. And there are 2 other research articles I brought on just on the screen, just to indicate that the research on light therapy and the research on how the mitochondria functions is right in line with the signaling molecules and the redox reaction. This is a key to dysfunction. It's also a key to function. So given the balance, which is so important, this is a very huge issue in our health and wellness. So my go-to slides are, we use oxygen in our little Pac-Man, which is called cytochrome C, and it gives us the energy, which is a simple way of saying this is good. We like the energy. But if we're injured, we have dysfunction, or we have age issues, the mitochondria gets blocked. that causes a significant amount of inflammation, which is a good thing if it's an acute injury, falls on all the white blood cells, everybody come help, come help. But then if it lasts too long, we need to get rid of that issue. We don't want to stay under that stress. So then we add the light, and that begins the process of letting the mitochondria do its job of using oxygen. And it also allows it to stimulate the production of signaling molecules. So when we see these articles and we see that they have actually been researching the use of mitochondria in producing the signaling molecules, knowing that they sort of poop out on us as we get older, and knowing now that we have a supplement that actually provides what's missing to build the system, it seems logical that we can take this issue that the light is a biophoton that controls the use of those signaling molecules. You have to have a trigger to make them work. You have to have a trigger to make the DNA activate. And the research showed recently, over the last 30 years, that the biophoton is the trigger of using these molecules. And that is so important because, number one, if you don't have enough signaling molecules and you take the supplement, that's great. But what if you don't have the trigger to make them work? They'll dissipate. So the combo could be just phenomenal. And that's where I am right now, looking at the metabolic activities limited, and they're limited by fewer signaling molecules. So when we combine them, what do we have? We have a new way of enhancing light, the health and wellness that we've not even ever thought of before. So as ASEA is the supplement of the native signaling molecules, providing what we don't have as much of, light is the trigger to stimulate their function, I think it could be just wonderful. And I see a difference in me, and that's just my testimonial, but I do believe that this could be a very significant advance in health and wellness. Thank you so very much for being on the call, and we will be sending you information so that you can connect with us. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over and open up people's questions. And I'm going to unmute. Can I just go ahead and unmute, or let everybody unmute themselves?
Let everybody unmute themselves so we don't get the feedback. But I'll ask the first question, Marcie. Or, you know, the most impressive thing to me is how this has stopped or virtually stopped your restless leg, which you know, I know what a big issue the restless leg was.
Some of the people in our classes can tell the same thing. The pathway number one is the serotonin and the dopamine pathway. And I inherited this twitchy legs. I inherited the restless leg syndrome from my lovely parents. And on a side note, we are one of the families that proved it was a genetic disorder. So it's kind of fun. But anyway, it has driven me crazy since I turned 40. And that's just a couple of years ago. But it is stimulated by lack of light. I started putting the gel on my head the first night. I don't know why, I just did. The pineal gland is responsible. It's up here, this crown chakra, and sure enough, it was better. But the truth is that in a 4-week period, normally I was taking 2 pills a day, so that's 14 a week, and that ends up being somewhere close to 90, or maybe 60. 60. But that's a lot of pills, and it's part of it's an Parkinson's med. Who wants to take that if you don't have to? So in the last 4 weeks, I've taken 4.5 pills. That's it.
That's phenomenal. And then Jim had said some things yesterday that just kind of blew me away. So before we take anybody else's questions, Jim, could you share some of what you were saying yesterday?
Sure. Marcie, why don't you go ahead and take screen share off?
Take one?
The screen share? There you go.
There you go.
All right. Well, my name's Jim Glenn. I'm in San Antonio, Texas. I'm an ex-stockbroker. I was a stockbroker here in San Antonio for 30 years. I'm 6'6". I played basketball in college. I'm now 62 years young. And when my best friend approached me with this 5 years ago, I have had 10 lower back surgeries. And somewhere I've got the screw that came out of my back. I've got 6 levels fused, and actually there it is. That came out of my back, and I still have 3 of those in. But at the time I was on 500 pills. I was on 4 different prescriptions, hydrocodone and gabapentin and 2 others. I had had a stimulator inserted in my back about 7 years ago. And my best friend came over here, and I kind of said, you had me at hello, because I had no other options. And I had been on hydrocodone for, and embarrassed to say this, but I was on it for about 20 years. And I knew that that was doing massive damage to my liver, but I had no choice. Every time I tried to get off my meds, my pain would come back, and I too had the restless legs, but that was more coming off the hydrocodone. So I get on this stuff, and within a matter of days, my back discomfort kind of disappeared. And I also had pins and needles in my left leg, my thigh. And we also have the topical gel. So I started applying the gel to that. And within 3 months, I've been completely med-free, and all my discomfort is gone. And that was, and as an ex-stockbroker, I used to do a lot of what's called IPOs, initial public offerings. And I asked my friend, okay, what do I do? What can I do to become a part of this? And we can go into that more if there's an interest there. But that also piqued my interest a lot. But since then, Ginger, my wife and I, who's a nutrition coach, and she had no health issues, but she had a bad infected fingernail from that joint down and cracked heels. And she said, I don't need it. You're messed up, so you get on it. But she said, hey, I'll try that gel on my finger and on my foot. And within a matter of a week, the fingernail had gotten better, and she had had that issue for 2 years. And the cracked heels went away. Yeah, bless you, Vanessa.
Oh, oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
That's funny. So, you know, she's a nutrition coach and an exercise coach, and she had lost her mother to a bad leukemia, and my mother had passed up in Ohio a few years prior to years of smoking issues. And so, but yet breast issues run in my wife's family. When she saw what happened to her finger and her heel, she got it. She goes, oh my God, cellular healing, you know, nutrition and diet is great, and exercise is great, but that doesn't heal your cells. And we have this ongoing aging problem with the cells. And so your immunity system weakens. And, you know, we had an infectious disease doctor at our home a couple of weeks ago. And when he saw what Marcie talked about, that pathway number 14, that interferon, he immediately said HIV and all viruses. Gone. Dealt with.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted to make sure we recorded this, because for such a time as this, and yeah. I'll say no more. Okay.
Now, I want to make sure I point out that we are not a cure. We don't diagnose, treat, cure anything. Right. What I mentioned about the HIV, that was 30 years ago. This technology goes back then. The technology that we have today is the same, but we're a dietary supplement. So we make zero claims about anything. And I cannot make any claims that we do anything. But yet, when people look at that interferon, alpha, beta, it says very clearly what that gene does.
Right.
But I tell you what, guys and gals, we have seen the most amazing things happen. Like I will say, there's only two things that can heal you: our Creator and the way He made our body. And we're just giving our body back what our body needs to do that. And it's just, again, we've seen any issue, if it involves a cell, this stuff has worked.
You know, and before we knew about this, and of course I've known about this for all of less than 24 hours, but about your supplement.
Right.
But although Marcie's been telling me how excited for at least a month and a half she is, but I just didn't have time to stop and listen to her until yesterday.
Right.
But what we've been saying all this time why we're so excited about light therapy is because light therapy is giving the body what it needs. As the cell, every cell of the body needs light. Well, every cell of the body needs the signaling molecule, and all of that too. So it's that's a match made in heaven as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and there's that one study done on the mice.
Oh, yes. Would you please go into that?
Yeah. This was a separate study done back in the beginning, and they were analyzing mice, and they know how far they're genetically designed mice that they run to a point of exhaustion. And they gave the mouse 7 days worth of ASEA, and then they had the placebo for the others. But the mice that were on ASEA, in just 7 days, they ran 29% further to the point of exhaustion in just 7 days. Now, one of my good friends, she's a doctor in Houston. Her husband is Dr. Joaquin Cortada, and he's the only doctor in the world that's currently growing a living lung outside the body. And he was a colonel in the army, and he was over in Iraq and got caught in a sandstorm. So his lungs were, he ended up with a tumor, not from the sand, but from other issues. So he had the surgeries at MD Anderson, and through the irradiation and the chemo, they destroyed his lungs, and he was on oxygen 24/7. That was her husband. Dr. Hayes is also an anesthesiologist and a pain doctor, and she saw that study when she was at a doctor-only meeting in Boston, and they showed this study, and the doctor that gave the study, Maureen, went up and said, pool water, because it kind of tastes like pool water. And he goes, oh my God, yeah, that's what I was talking about with the study. And he goes, I've got all my patients on the pool water and the results they were getting. So what it does to the lungs is magical. You can actually put it into a machine that will put it into a mist. And again, we try to avoid saying medical devices and medical names. So we kind of talk in code language. And I know you all are used to that, because we have to be so cautious right now because of this company has doubled in size in 2 years. We're a 10-year-old company, and the story behind this company is nothing but earth-shattering. That's what caught my attention as an ex-broker. But ladies and gentlemen, one of my ladies here in San Antonio, her name is Rose Monday. You may not know the name, but she was chosen as the head coach for the women's 2021 Olympic team. And she's been using this material now for 3 years, and she's in her late 50s, early 60s, and she was bone on bone in both knees, and she's now back running with no surgery, and she's got some of her Olympic athletes that are on the product because, again, it's just native to the body, so there's no potential of getting a false positive for an illegal substance. So what it does for athletes, for lungs, for babies. Here's what's crazy. It works on plants and animals as well.
Can I interject a little bit about the mice?
Yes.
The energy to run the distance further did not come from burning sugar. It came from burning fat.
Correct.
So the big push now is to the ketones and so forth, so that you can get into burning fat instead of sugar. And that's a weight loss, it's taking the nation by storm. So I was impressed with that. So
by the way, I have again, I had put on a lot of weight because of my back issues and the nerve damage in my leg. And my hormones have totally rebalanced now, but I've lost 55 pounds myself in the last 2 years. And my wife and I are very active, and we're highly encouraging people to get active right now. Yes, we are, homebound, even though I kind of sneak out every now and again. But, my wife and I are very active people. We're always out hiking and doing things. But I really recommend for the light as well. We need the sunlight. We have a gorgeous day here today. But exercise, good water intake. But there's a lot more things about these materials because it is going to do a detox. It is going to cleanse the inside of the cells. So we need to make sure it's very important that people drink a lot of water, good clean water with this. So, but I'm willing to take any questions if anybody has any.
Yeah, let's do questions now. Any questions? Put it in the chat box or unmute yourself. And if you can't unmute yourself, then let me know that and we'll unmute you. How about if you want to unmute everybody right now?
That's what I'm thinking. I'll just see if we get to.
You'll get real noisy real quick.
Okay, all right.
I can't tell if Judy has a question.
Judy?
I'm not sure if Judy was. Were you
Judy!
trying to ask one? No,
Hey, look, is Judy on? Yes, Judy, welcome. Judy took the plunge yesterday.
Hey, Judy.
One of the common questions that we get, and if you do go look this up on the internet, and I'm sure it's very similar for light therapy, but this material is made from salt water, as Marcie very plainly stated. But don't mistake it for just plain silly salt water. It's a 3-day, heavily patented, heavily intellectual properties protected material. And it took 20 years to develop this. And it was an act of God, like Marcie said, that allowed this to be stabilized 12 years ago. And there's some amazing things that we can do with the topical gel where we can apply it to the carotid arteries in people that have any degree of discomfort. 80 to 90% of the time we see the discomfort dissolve, just kind of go away. And you can put the material in your eyes, any body opening you have, you can put the material in it or on it, and let the signaling begin, let the games begin, right, Marcie?
Yes. So Judy, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. I would like to share another reason why I jumped in with 2 feet and my entire, I just went, yes, I had, he said he was there at hello. I was there at hello myself. In the process of learning a little bit, I watched a video of one of the people who've been in the company for quite a while, but he also had family that needed this very, very much. And it took a while to convince his dad to start using it. And reluctant, he did. And he be patient. So he used the ASEA for 3 months. I think they timed it at 93 days. He gave a call to his son and said, William, come over to my house. And he opened the front door and his dad shoved his arms out and he did not have Parkinson's symptoms that day. For 3 years, he did not have Parkinson's symptoms. Now, my husband passed away from Parkinson's, so I was highly encouraged that maybe was clicking into that issue of repair, rejuvenate, restore. I am excited for all the people who have chronic illnesses and issues and genetic things that the combination could be just magical. And that's my sense of the combo accelerating the process of healing. I just believe that it could easily accelerate to where we have chronic pain folk. It takes so long with light. The combination could be so good. Anyway.
What about children? ADD, ADHD, any of these issues? Any experience with that?
Yes, ma'am. I've got a good friend of mine in West Virginia that his grandson was severe on the spectrum, if you know what I'm referring to.
Uh-huh.
And at the age of 3, he had just been kicked out of a daycare, a special needs daycare, because he was punching kids in the face. And that was his grandson, and his daughter, who's an attorney up in the Cincinnati area, said, Dad, I can't do it. I don't want to put Roman, the grandson, on drugs. And so my friend went to go pick him up and started applying the topical gel all over the child. And because it tastes a little bit different, so he didn't want to drink it. So my friend made it a game, and he put it in a syringe, and he would squirt it in his mouth. And he goes, Granddaddy's juice. And so finally he let him squirt it in his mouth, and he goes, oh, well, that's not so bad. He's had a complete turnaround. I mean, it's nothing. We've had people with children on the spectrum, and we've seen them have results where they're non-communicative and they start talking.
Wow.
But what we've seen in children, and one of my ladies I work with up in Argyle, Texas, is a midwife, and she gives it to her newly found out pregnant moms and people that have had issues getting pregnant. They've had people getting pregnant. It fixes those issues, both in the men and the women. But they've given it to brand new babies, just born. And again, it's native. It can't harm you. And that's what's really crazy about this. There's not a situation that I could come up with that I would have to say, no, you can't do it there. It's non-toxic. And that's kind of what drives a lot of people, medical people. They go, that's impossible, Jim, because too much water and too much saline will kill you, but not too much of this. Zero. And by the way, that's why it could not be an FDA drug, because every FDA drug has to have an LD50, a lethal dose. There's no lethal dose.
So we have a couple of questions. This will be put up somewhere, right? We're recording this and including the conversations. So yes, it will be posted. Ginger will give you more information on that in a little bit. Question on sugar issues, Jim.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, and I'll tell you, if you, I can give you a website. It's called Redox Experiences, plural, redoxexperiences.com, and the password is experiences. And there are hundreds
Capital
of
E.
Yeah, well, it's capital. It's one of two. It's either capital A, associate, or experiences, lower E.
Well, wait, for a web address is not case sensitive.
The password.
Oh, password.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
Sorry
ma'am.
about that.
But
Okay.
yes, we have seen people with blood sugar issues. We've seen people with high blood pressure issues. Now, I do want to state, we had the question yesterday. Someone knows someone that was on the material, on the molecules, and their blood pressure went up. Well, this is going to do a cellular cleansing, and the cleansing goes through the liver and then the kidneys. And so if there's too much garbage, too much dust getting cleaned out, too much toxins out of the body, the kidneys can get backed up. And the key thing when we have this material is you have to drink a lot of water. And so that person admitted, yeah, that's what their issue was. They weren't drinking enough water. But usually we can have detox symptoms for maybe a week to 2 weeks, maybe. But if you drink more water, get good exercise, that seems to mitigate any of the detox. And not everyone will detox. About 10 to 20% will. And people that are autoimmune issues, Crohn's, and there's other ones out there that if they're on 4 meds or more, and that's another key thing, this cannot counter-indicate any medicine. I don't care what anybody's on. It cannot negatively react, even with chemo. It doesn't matter. We're putting more back into the body, and the body will accept it. It has to, because that's what God made. But there is, so like I know when I started, I had I was tired. And we want to take our ASEA in the morning, then right before we go to bed, but sometimes people get a lot of energy, so they may not be able to take it right before bed. And it's not caffeine type energy, it's just, it's boosting the ATP.
Oh
right?
my gosh, yes.
Yeah, so it's been because it's creating more ATP, it's giving you energy, but yet the body heals itself at nighttime when we sleep. And that's why taking it right before we go to bed is typically very important.
Okay, Marcie, before I forget, everybody who's on this live call and anybody who's watching the recorded call, if you want to know actually where this is posted on YouTube, it's going to be on Energy Events. If I don't have your email address, which some of these people I don't have their email address, if you would just email it to me, if you'd like to be notified of when this recording's available or some of the other things we do, if you would just email Ginger at energyevents.us, okay? And that way we'll be able to notify you, okay? All right, and a couple more questions and then we probably need to.
We need it, right. In terms of the contact information, I was hoping to send out that information to anybody that requests it, but would it be if you don't want me to send you contact information, if you'll, you know, I don't know how to say no. I mean, if you want, I don't know. This is important. It's available for you, and the information was on, when you go back and play the tape, it'll be very clear. So when you go back, the information on how to contact me, and I think I put yours on it. I may have put Jim's on it as well.
Okay. Yeah, for either this or light therapy, or
right.
the person that sent you to this event,
There you go.
Recording. Okay. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions. Did you all have anything else that you wanted, something burning that you know people ask about all the time before we end this, Jim or Marcie?
The biggest question we get, and I do a lot of the Zoom meetings as well, the biggest question we get is, what about this or that issue? And then also age related. And I just want to relate that there's no issue if it involves a cell where this will not work. The question that we can't answer is when. When will you feel your result, Judy? Now, there are things that we can do. Now, we have a 90% people say they have a positive result within 90 days. Now, people that are very healthy, that have great nutrition, and they're great with exercise, and they're going, well, I don't need this. My word of caution is, yes, you do. We've had multiple people that they said they were in perfect health. I mean, they had nothing wrong with them. They're in their 60s and they're still jogging, they're still doing everything, and then they get that ache and pain, they go get it checked out, and then, like, I know one guy that they checked him out, they thought it was a gallbladder, but it turned out to be stage 4 pancreatic cancer. So, you know, we think we're healthy, but that's my biggest word, is what we try to do is we talk about prevention. It's better to prevent than it is to try to repair something that's already damaged.
Right.
But we have seen the most extreme cases. And there is a video that Marcie has access to of a Harvard-educated, triple-boarded doctor whose father had a 10% chance of living in the hospital. He was non-communicative. He had no idea who anybody was, and he had not eaten anything in 4 weeks. He was on his deathbed. And they took a medical sponge, and the mother dipped it in a Sia and put it in his mouth. Within 3 to 4 weeks, he's back out driving his car. So we have seen the worst of the worst. And if people are just willing to give this a try, and if you know anybody that's battling a health issue, and they're out there praying right now for their miracle, this is it. Some people, I will say, you may not believe this is real, but that's okay, because it is. Like I said, you got your feelings and you got facts. Which one are you going to go by? Just like with light therapy, you guys have your facts. You know it works. We have the same thing here. And so that was really all I really wanted to add, is don't think that you have to be sick to want to take this. especially with what's going on with this stuff going on. There's no more time than to build up your body's natural God-given immunity system than right now.
Right.
This is going to pass. And then I would also say anybody looking for a plan B income solution.
Right.
This is something else to take a serious look at, because this is a financial opportunity as well.
Yeah, and we're fond of saying at Carolite, we just started using the phrase self-care. We can get it there. Like, we can still get it to their front door. And I'm hearing that you're saying we can still get a SIA to the front door.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
and I will say we are in 33 countries. This material, by the way, and this is important, is completely and totally made in the United States, in Utah. We only have one manufacturing plant, and then we have 14 distribution centers all over the world. We are in Mexico. We're obviously in Canada. We're obviously in Europe. We're in the Philippines, Hong Kong, Taiwan. And so, and we have leadership unlike any other company. There's been a lot of people that have been hurt in whatever the company it is, because something happened to the company, the management, the executive team. And the ownership of this company is unlike anything else you'll ever see. And that was the first thing I researched.
Except
the
Carolite.
ownership. Yeah,
Except Carolite.
Carolite. We'll put our team up against yours. No.
Well, guys, I feel blessed that Marcie and Judy, Ginger, I'm sorry, that you asked me to be a part of this, and it's an honor. And if you want to do this again, please let me know.
Okay, that's great. Mars, can you put up the screen with your contact information on it? Can you screen share that one real quick in closing? Make it easy on everybody.
Yes.
All right.
Now, one more question just came up too.
All right, will you answer it while people write down the contact info?
Okay.
Go ahead, Jim.
Well, the question was, how can we find out more? And that's going to be calling Ginger and Marcie. And then if anybody wants a separate meeting, we can also orchestrate that with these two amazing ladies.
Okay,
but yeah, reach out to Marcie, then they know how to get a hold of me. And again, I do these Zoom meetings. I've got several of them today. So I'm more than willing to help out anybody.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you all. Thanks everybody for listening, and share the light and share the assist. For such a time as this, we got to use our voices.
All right. We do appreciate it very much. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Ginger. Thank you, Karen. Thank you for all of you that came on. And it's an exciting time. Let's continue the process of giving our body what it needs to heal.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if you wanted to do the other where you show people where to get the information.
It's on the screen.
Okay.
Oh, to do the web, actually go to my site?
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay.
Let me do that real quick because I had it up. Let's see. This is Carolite's site.
Well, you're not sharing it.
I know. I'll get
the screen.
Okay, I'll get there.
We're still seeing your PowerPoint.
Okay, we're good.
I'll just start singing.
You start singing? You'll start singing. Can you see the PowerPoint still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the PowerPoint's on this side and the SIA is over here. So this is, if you were to
we don't see a SIA. We don't see a SIA. You got to share go down to share your screen, not your.
Yeah, minimize your PowerPoint, and then hopefully your SIA site will come up.
There you go.
There you go.
So if you go on my site or Ginger's site, this is what it'll look like. And there's plenty of information on here about what we talked about. There's a lot of science for you. more about the company than we talked about today, and a little bit more about the compensation plan, et cetera. To join, it's a matter of filling out a form, and I would work with you to do that. There are two ways of being participating. Is one is as a customer, a retail customer, where you just buy product, and the other is to be an associate, which costs $40 to start up, and then you get a discount of your. Then you get discounts, so you can be a preferred customer or a retail customer. And the beauty of being a preferred customer is that you get discount for the product. And if you share this particular product and they join up, you get a thank you, cha-ching. You get a little bit of money for being an introducer. So besides your health and wellness improving, the people that you love and care about actually start being in the same boat as you. It's kind of similar to how we work with light therapy. We share what we know, and if they join up, we get a thank you, cha-ching, and that's really nice, and that's the Plan B part. But if you just want to buy the products, you can go on and just do that, and you don't have to do any, continuing purchase, but the preferred customer has a commitment to drop shipping a little bit. Jim told me, don't worry if you got caught into the drop ship. What was it? The Columbia Records program or something?
Columbia, the Columbia Record of the Month Club. That was I joined that when I was a teenager, and it was one of the worst mistakes I ever made in my life.
It ain't our lunch.
It ain't that.
It isn't that, and it's you can change it at any time. But the beauty of this is that if you become a preferred customer and you decide to do this, there's plenty of backup for you to put it into your life as an understanding, and then to be able to share it. And then, as you can see, Jim is available. I'm available as I learn more. Jim Motherall, who introduced me, is more available. The experts jump on with everybody, no matter, little people. They love little people. So the gift is that this could be a combination that makes a huge difference in many people's lives. Yeah. And again, don't hesitate, if you haven't purchased the light, to think about light and to think about the benefit of it. And there's plenty in the same category of awesome companies. CareLight does such a good job of educating and sharing how to do and what to do and what it's good for. And then Ginger and I, of course, teach a course on light therapy that is awesome. But really and truly, we
must say so ourselves.
We must say so ourselves. So the truth is that the part of what we are trying to give to people is the capacity to take charge of their own health and wellness, and provide what they need to stay on top of this. And this is a pretty tough time, and this is an excellent thing to add to your toolbox. So,
Marcie?
Yes.
Hey, real quick, I would suggest that people, because the retail client's going to pay more for the product, you're going to pay $30 more per case. I would just highly recommend getting a hold of Marcie and letting her go through, especially we can ask questions about your family, if you're into athletics, if you're having any serious health challenges, and your age, and then loved ones that may have an interest. Because if you come in as an associate, there are some special one-time only initial packages, special packages that Marcie is very well versed with on being able to help you with. So I would highly recommend letting Marcie help you join. That would be my advice, Marcie.
And if Ginger invited you, then I just back her up.
Right. We put everything in for Ginger or for Marcie.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. And I told Marcie, I told Marcie, no, I'm not doing this because I'm not good at this kind of business, and I'm focused on what I'm doing. But after I saw the presentation, I'm like, okay, I mean, I can't wait to try the product myself. So anyway.
You know, Ginger, that's kind of what happened to us when I realized what this stuff was. I had an obligation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as a human, you have an obligation to share this. Now, it's not, I don't care whether you do it or not, but I have the obligation to share this with everybody that we come across.
Well, that's what I feel, you know, my entire adult life has been about, you know, is learning to help myself and turning around and sharing it with my fellow human being. And I guess we're kind of all in the same boat that's on listening to this call. And so, yes, I do think it's, and especially for such a time as this, you know, we got to open our mouth and we've got to let it be known, you know, that there is help on the way. There is something that we can do, but, you know, we have to share it. So I thank you. I thank you both, everybody. Thank you. Share the video and have a miraculous week. Let's just say
we're here to answer any questions offline if anybody wants to.